The past does not have to define the future. Yesterday's conflict does not have to be tomorrow's war. And as history has proven over and over again, adversaries can indeed become friends. We can honor the sacrifice of our forefathers by replacing the horrors of battle with the blessings of peace. There is no limit to what North Korea can achieve when it gives up its nuclear weapons and embraces commerce and engagement with the rest of the world.
That was the president at the press conference there after the historic meeting with Kim Jong Un. Joining us now, Robert Charles, former Assistant Secretary of State under Bush 43. You know, that press conference, there were a lot of questions about human rights. The president's answers kind of short on details. Was that a fault? Was that a problem, do you think, for this whole agreement and the press conference?
No, Stuart. I actually think you have to take things in sequence, and that is down the line in sequence. I think as you look at this agreement, there is no reason that everybody in the world, including every American, shouldn't be happy with this. I understand some will probably call this a significant turn toward peace. Crumbs, or Iran doesn't like it, which makes me like it more. But in the grand scheme of things here. In the grand scheme of things, this president has shown yet again that he has the ability to look ahead in ways that others can't or haven't. And what he's done is articulated the possible. He's then kind of put that vision in front of people and created concentric circles of buy-in for it. What he did with Kim, let's make no mistake about it, what he did with Kim is created a win-win situation. He has empowered Kim the way Ronald Reagan empowered Gorbachev to be a transformative figure. Now, will Kim actually pursue that? I think, when you're pulling somebody out of darkness into the light, there's a lot of blinking, there's recoil, there will undoubtedly be stops and starts, but this is a significant turn for the world in the right direction, and I think every American should be happy this morning. I noted that the markets, you said, weren't up yet, but my guess is they'll go there because this is really a significant move.
Well,
the last thing I'll just add is implementation. Yeah.
Sorry, you just turned into a stock market forecaster. That's kind of unusual for Robert Charles. But I do want to get in denuclearization. That's at the heart of this agreement, and that is history-making. Here's President Trump with Sean Hannity on that. Roll tape.
We are now going to start the process of denuclearization of North Korea, and I believe that he's going back and will start it virtually immediately. And he's already indicated that. And you look at what he's done. So we got our hostages back, but they've blown up one of their sites, one of their testing sites, their primary testing site. In fact, some people say their only testing site. They're getting rid of a missile, which isn't in the document that was done afterwards. They're getting rid of a missile testing site. They're doing so much now.
Well, you can see that full interview tonight, 9 o'clock on the Fox News channel. Robert, how can we verify that this denuclearization actually takes place?
So that is the $100 million question. At the end of the day, implementation is everything. But you can't get to implementation without a plan, and you can't get to a plan without a shared vision. So where are we? We're at the shared vision point. Verification will have to include really blanketing the country to get into the key sites, particularly the military sites, which is probably why Iran looks at this and says, wow, I can't believe North Korea is going to do this. At the end of the day, North Korea gets two very important things out of this. They get security guarantees, and they get a path to the future economically. And I think at the end of the day, what Kim Jong Un, who is smarter than I think a lot of people realized, is figured out is that wagging nuclear weapons at the world is really a dead end, almost literally a dead end street. And so you're going to have to look back at where you want to reverse engineer yourself into a more promising future. You're going to have to start somewhere. And the beautiful thing here, the remarkable thing is that I think it's probably the only time in his lifetime when this would have actually been a possibility. Donald Trumps don't come along very often. And Donald Trump saw here the possibility of a future that was denuclearized on the peninsula, and Kim Jong Un, I think, has taken him at his word. What you see here is the beginning of trust, and that's a very important start.
It's a very important and a very remarkable new start. Robert Charles, thank you, sir. Appreciate you being with us.